When the pandemic hit North Dakota in mid-March, the state's public health lab multiplied its testing capacity seemingly overnight.
Prior to March, the Department of Health had only 19 lab employees. Now, there are more than 140.
But as Renee Cooper reports, even with more than 7 times the normal workforce, those processing our COVID-19 tests say it's overwhelming.
I've taken a few phone calls lately with state lab workers. They want to remain anonymous because they're still employed here at the public health lab. But one tells me they're overworked and getting burnt out. And as the number of active cases keeps rising, it's not making anyone's job any easier.
We went from operating Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we're now operating 24/7. But this group has worked incredibly hard, and that's why we're constantly looking to hire more staff. And there's always room for improvement, but we're definitely always keeping an eye on staff burnout, because we don't need to lose people.
The anonymous workers also brought up concerns about technology choices in the lab, particularly the Abbott M2000 machines, which lab employees claim break down often. This is a concern KX News brought to Governor Burgum in May because the executive chairman of Abbott Labs, Miles White, was the 5th largest donor to the governor's initial election campaign in 2016, donating also this year.
I heard somebody say, well, he must want something. That is as close to ridiculous as you can get, because Abbott machinery is wanted by every state and every government and every business in the whole world.
Dr. Mason tells me the public health lab had an M2000 pre-pandemic, so it was the obvious choice to use an existing machine. She says the Abbott M2000 is also used by other private labs in North Dakota. As for the breakdowns,
yes, we have seen Abbott instruments fail, and that does cause problems for us. And so not all of our failures, though, just to be clear, are with the instrument themselves.
She says it could be a technician error or something else. And unlike other machines that are handled manually by a lab tech, the M2000 is robotic.
Those have a tendency to break down.
The state is using a host of other machinery from various manufacturers, some new, some old.
As we really struggled to get reagents from one platform, we had another one that was able to step in and meet that demand.
Dr. Mason says the lab still struggles to keep enough non-reusable supplies, particularly reagents, a substance that is essential to testing.
I feel like it's like playing whack-a-mole. I feel like we solve one problem and then another one pops up.
To compensate, the Department of Health has been sending about 30 to 40% of tests to Mako Medical Laboratories in North Carolina. But at the end of a long day for all at the lab, Dr. Mason says her biggest concern is the staff and making sure they have enough hands on deck to keep that workload down and burnout from happening. Reporting for KX News in the capital city, Renee Cooper.
And Dr. Mason says the turnaround time for a test from the doctor's office to getting your result is about 3 to 4 days right now, give or take. The first test in is the first test out. They're processed chronologically, but there is a team within the DOH that actually puts together that test schedule and prioritizes long-term care facilities and other vulnerable populations as needed.